Oh, baby. Business is picking up. I mean, just look at this suit right here. This is absolutely spectacular.
I feel
Great.
overdressed.
Compared to us, you are, in fact. But when you are a luminary of your level, NFL draft analyst for ESPN, NFL Draft Daily, 3 o'clock on ESPN, and, of course, great friend of the program, Field Yates.
It's great to be here. And now I need to come back. I haven't been called a luminary for a while. So,
well, the suit is luminous.
It is. I mean,
luminescent.
Yes.
The best part is, as Andrew noted, it's stretchy. It's
soft. The fabric, I said, it's
important.
That's my kind of fabric.
When you're on your
there.
feet for a lot of hours,
absolutely.
The combine, you got to have the right suit.
That is a performance suit.
Yeah, it's like a neoprene sleeve.
We have totally
body.
This is like exactly what the audience wants.
Right.
It's like, 3 guys talking fashion, but we have really changed the game when it comes to suits and formal wear. No more of those sort of starchy suits back in the day.
Yeah.
We graduated.
I mean, this is more like you're in a luge or a bobsled in Cortina.
Yes. By the way, crushed it.
Oh, the gold zone, phenomenal.
I appreciate
Amazing.
it. That was not where I was trying to go, but
Andrew did
you're a
crush it
gentleman.
To the
I
surprise of
appreciate
0 people whatsoever.
Zero
That's right.
people.
Yep.
An absolute big B broadcaster over there. All right, Combine. You love the Combine. Who
best.
doesn't love the Combine?
Yeah.
What do you love the most about it?
The people. I love being around the action. I love the fact that you've got every team represented, not necessarily in the same form. We've heard and seen teams not bring their GMs or head coaches anymore. Is their opinion is they're better suited to kind of keep hammering away either on the draft or other stuff.
The less needification
yes,
of the conference.
Yeah, and I don't think the Rams have suffered much from having
I'd
Les
say
or
not.
Sean here, right? So a lot of different ways to go about your business, but I still love the energy of this week. It's a big step in the process. For those of us that live the draft year-round, this is not the beginning of the draft process, but a lot of people are busy during the regular season and the playoffs, and so they're kind of getting introduced into these prospects. But it's a gigantic jigsaw puzzle, and this gets us a little bit closer to completion. Not that everything is decided this week, but this is a good week to put some pieces of context into the database that help you make more informed decisions as you're ranking and evaluating and projecting these players over the next, I guess it's a little under 8 weeks now.
Yeah. There are inevitably, every year, might be tonight, linebackers and D-linemen. Inevitably, every year, there's a guy that tests out of the gym or steals the combine when we actually get to the drills where you go, all right, I guess I got to go back and look at his tape.
Yeah.
Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
Any idea who that's going to be?
So I want to preface this by saying that if I name a name that ends up not working out, that is one of the themes of this year that I've noticed is that we are seeing a lot of guys just not take part in this week
Is
as
it
much.
the playoff?
Yep.
I think it's a couple of different factors there. I do think that the NIL era has probably led to players understandably feeling like they have more control of sort of their path during the college
Good for
process.
them.
Right? And it's totally their prerogative. And I think there are guys who are coming in with the mindset that there's only things for me to lose as opposed to things to gain this week. And when you have people, you have a circle that is telling you that like there's only a lot to lose and not much to gain, then I understand why your mindset is, if you're Ruben Bain and they say to you, hey, you're probably a top 10 to 12 pick right now, but if you work out, and I don't think Ruben would have off-the-chart testing numbers, and that could be the difference between you going 10 versus 18, is it worth it? That's
right.
And that's just one example, and maybe he would challenge and say that he actually would have elite testing numbers. My eyes don't tell me that he is going to be in the same category of athlete as some of the other guys that will go high. So that was a much longer-winded preface than I probably intended, but there are guys towards the back end of the first round that I think have a lot to gain this week. Cassius Howell from Texas A&M is a good example of a guy who he should be a total rock star in the testing process. Biggest consideration for him is he's got shorter arms. He's got which I always feel weird talking about. These guys have short arms, and I probably have like 28-inch arms, but he's probably under 32 inches, which is by some teams' estimations kind of like a minimum threshold.
I got the measurement for you here. Keep talking.
R. Mason Thomas has he? Oh, good.
Yep.
That's what happens when you don't have your phone on you or not as readily
you're
available.
making the rounds.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's 30 and a quarter. It's
30 and a quarter arms.
30 and a quarter.
Okay, so there was some talk about him being like 31 and a half during the
30,
seasons.
It's not good. It would be, and it would be historically
that's
short.
Yep,
arm.
30 and a quarter arms you said for him.
Yes.
Do we get Bain or no?
Yeah, we got Bain too. Both are not encouraging.
See, I promised to the audience I was not
What's
a good setup right
What's your
there.
guess on Bain?
Bain was, I believe, at like 30 and 6/8 during the season.
30 and 7/8.
7/8. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Okay.
that measurement. So they do take measurements of players. It's a helpful tool during the season or before the season, and scouts have them. There were some that were saying the Bain was mismeasured and he was going to be closer to 32. We have 50 plus years of the draft. Not saying that what happened in the past specifically dictates the future, but when you have a lot of players to choose from and you're looking for tiebreakers, sometimes you do rely on history. And if there's not a long list of guys with 30 and 7/8 inch arms and you've got two pass rushers pretty closely graded, then you might break the tie with the guys who got the 33 inch arms. So Cassius Howell would be the guy that can help himself with the athletic testing. R. Mason Thomas from Oklahoma. Do we get measurements on him?
We do. Let me give you David Bailey first.
Oh, okay.
Just for comparison's sake,
Yep.
for people that say it doesn't matter.
Sure.
David Bailey, 33 3/4.
Yep.
So
Totally.
we're talking-
That's
yeah. And
totally good right there.
R. Mason Thomas, 31, I beg your pardon, 31 and 5/8.
Yeah, so he'll be right on the border there, 31 and 5/8. So those are the kind of guys that they may press closer to the end of the first round.
You
But
don't
the
want to bet
testing
on
should be good.
outliers.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to do, right? And I know that Andrew Berry and his staff have, I think Andrew, having been in this chair long enough, you have a little bit of a general feel for how he goes about his business. And I would say that Andrew, generally, and this is not every single draft pick, but I would say there's a strong history of he's been a very traitsy GM, right? He has bet on height, weight, speed guys, younger prospects as well, right? They've been drawn to the true juniors, the 4-year players, and we're in a new world where there's a lot of guys that have been playing for 5 or 6 years because NIL draws you back in. You redshirt your freshman season. By your 5th year, you're making $5 million. That
Seems pretty good.
hard to pass on, right? So I do think that the measurements matter for some teams more than others, and I would say the Browns seem to be a team that does skew towards them.
To your point, Dylan Sampson and Harold Fannin went through training camp as 20-year-olds last year. Sampson didn't turn 21 until week 2 in Baltimore.
He's
That was
youngest
his
player in the
birthday.
league.
Insane.
He was youngest player in the league the entire year.
Insane.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of guys. So Keldrick Falk from Auburn, one of the youngest players in this draft class. Monroe Feling, one of the younger players in this class, offensive tackle
he
from
could be a player
Georgia.
at 24, could he not? If he's there at 24?
I've been on the NFL our show with Kuiper and Green that we do first draft, and I've said if we did a bold prediction show, is Monroe Feeling going 6th overall like the single craziest thing you've ever heard? It isn't to me, and I am a known Monroe Feeling believer, stan, if you will. We were just talking about measurables, 6'7". Once he measures, it might be 35+ inch arms for him, a wingspan that might challenge 85, 86 inches. I think his best football's ahead of him.
Can he play with Jared Allen and Mobley?
That would be also useful.
Okay.
Although James Harden's thumb, we're going to play through it. All right, we're going to play through it. NBA is funny. I don't have a reason for that loss last night, but we digress. But yes, so I think that Monroe is going to have some. I think he's primed for a move up the board, but I could be miscalculating it. You try to and this is a Kuiper mindset that he's shared with me that I try to remind myself of is your ratings are how you see the players. Your mock drafts are how you think the NFL will see the players. So my rating may be a bit incongruent with how I have Monroe Feeling in mock drafts, but I'm bullish on the player, and I think for teams that value sort of potential archetypes, he's one of them.
Let's talk about this draft for the Browns since we got into the tackle position.
Yeah.
It's obvious that is a big need. The other, I would say, is a stud wide receiver.
Sure, yeah.
How do you feel? Let's start with the receivers. How do you feel about this receiver class? And is there somebody at 6 that could be that number 1 for the Cleveland Browns?
I think Carnell Tate is the answer as wide receiver 1 in this class. Good debates between him and Kai Lemon, Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. All of them very different in terms of how they get the job done. Carnell Tate this past season had his biggest role at Ohio State. He was not the wide receiver 1. They have Jeremiah Smith, who could be top 5 pick next year. We'll see. You guys obviously know Jeremiah's game.
He's going to be the wide receiver 1 on basically right now. Jeremiah Smith will be the number 1 on 27 NFL teams.
Yeah, he's
28.
an amazing prospect, unbelievable prospect. So it's not really a thing against Carnell. It's more just the reality of Ohio State's wide receiver depth for all these years. With Tate, he is. I don't think he would blow you away with his speed. I think his body control is superlative. I think he's just always on balance. He has played both big slot role, put in the perimeter, had just 1 drop this past season, averaged over 17 yards a catch. So while his speed is not, 4.33, he can definitely get down the field, Love the route running, so disciplined, so detailed, right place, right time consistently, and effortless. I always say that nobody looks like they're sweating less than Carnell Tate when he plays. It all comes very naturally to him. Well coached at Ohio State, obviously. Jordan Tyson, extremely explosive. He's a trickier evaluation this season because he had a couple factors working against him. He was banged up this past year, dealt with a hamstring injury after previously dealing with a broken collarbone and a major knee injury. And his quarterback play this past year was undone, right? Sam Levitt is now at LSU. The entire Arizona State season kind of went by the wayside. So if you're just using this past year's film, like third times, where my favorite plays from Jordan Tyson are the plays in which the ball was nowhere near him. Mm-hmm. It's like he dusts some corner on a ridiculous route, and the quarterback throws the ball to the other side of the field. But you're like, if he had gotten that ball, we might be talking about him in a different light.
Sure.
But the medical will be factored into his evaluation.
Yeah.
Makai Lemon is such a baller, great player, tough, great after the catch, strong hands. When he measures this week, he might be sub 5'10". Or he's going to be in that 5'10"-ish range.
And that's kind of the thing about this wide receiver class. I mean, there are big guys.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of 5'11" dudes as well to play in the slot.
A lot of those, yes.
Or they're playing out wide at 5'11".
So it's a very unique class in that way. But I love Carnell Tate. I think he would be, if I'm picking one at 6 and he's available, he'd be my pick for the Browns. People keep saying, like, do you just, the wide receiver depth is so great. Do you just take an offensive tackle at 6 and then take a wide receiver at 24? A couple things. As evidenced last year, you can move up or down the board. That's allowed in the NFL draft. And that it's easy for us to say, yeah, you should take Carnell Tate at 6 because so-and-so is going to be available at 24, or vice versa. I think when you're on the clock, it's a lot harder to muster the courage to bet on that happening, right? You are projecting it might happen, but it's tough. Like when you're sitting there and you're like, I don't want to lose this player, even if you think the wide receiver depth is better. If you got a higher grade on the wide receiver than the offensive tackle and you're bullish on him, then I think you just take the wide receiver. You owe it to yourself and your scouting staff and your coaching staff that your process is sound enough that, this player is deserving of this pick. And as you look ahead, that there's a chance that a couple of the guys you like will be there at 24.
Real quick on a Buckeye here, another Buckeye. Mel, and this is the portion of the show, and I hate being put in this position as well. Hey, I can't believe the guy that you work with did this. Comment on it?
No.
Okay. Mel's got Caleb Downs at 2.
Mm-hmm.
That seems a bit rich for me, and I love the player.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
It's been, let me see if I can do math, 91, which was, 35 years ago?
Jamal Adams? No, 91. Okay. Jamal Adams was the last.
The Browns.
Yep.
Who was 90? Right. Oh, Eric Turner. May you rest in peace, Eric Turner.
One of an all-time great and one of the great Syracuse alums, of course, right? He was Cuse, wasn't he?
UCLA.
UCLA, yes, I screwed that up. Totally missed that one.
We had Donovan Darius in that era.
You did that right. You did that right. You said one of the great Syracuse alums and pointed.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
I was pointing to Andrew.
Yes,
I don't know why I had Eric Turner.
Donovan Darius, Tabaki Jones in that era.
Yeah, Tabaki was a great player as well. Why did I have? That's a weird one for Eric Turner. I apologize. But he was the highest drafted safety ever, number 2 overall. So it's been a while since we had somebody go that high at that position. And I think there's part of it is evaluating this draft landscape. How many guys are definitely better than Caleb Downs? Not many of them. And then part of it comes down to this is it's hard to say this and to process this sometimes, but it's almost like if you had this allotment of whatever the resource is, right? If you want to call it dollars, you want to call it draft capital, whatever it is. And it's like you have this chance to buy commodities. Which of these commodities is most valuable on the open market? It's like, which one would you prioritize? And so some of it is if you have the number 2 overall pick and you're the Jets, do you owe it to yourself to take a pass rusher? Somebody that impacts the quarterback because what does Myles Garrett make per year? $40 million or 40.25 versus what does the top safety make? And that's, I think it's now Kyle Hamilton at $24 million per year. So positional value is factored into it. The pro Caleb Downs case is amazing. And if you're the Jets, you're saying we've got 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years.
And he's safe.
Let's make sure we hit 5 out of 5.
Good players.
Yeah. Go for the full allotment of players will be great. Then you just take them and you say, we can rest easy knowing that, hey, we're off to a 1-for-1 start. We're on base,